Trevor Hash was a prisoner in his body, betrayed by conventional medicine. His shoulder dislocated at the slightest move, sending searing pain through his system, shattering his dreams of competing in the sports he loved, and instilling fear that he'd never play catch with his kids in the future. Rather than capitulate, he trusted his intuition, diving into healing modalities that felt right. With a handstand as his North Star, Trevor harnessed focus, discipline, and relentless tenacity. Through grit and grace, he rebuilt his body, achieving the fluid strength of a cheetah and a full recovery. He now helps others do the same.
I'm Trevor Hash. I do video content online where we share with people a lot of our experiences. It's me and my brother, our experiences of opening up our own bodies, and then from there, helping people kind of open up their whole life.
That is beautifully said. And if you haven't seen trevorhash.com, you need to check it out. So, but we know, Trevor, or I know at least, you didn't start there. Like
No.
you spent some time in your bed tearing up because you were dislocating your shoulder on a regular basis and had tried a lot of traditional modalities. So just take us back there.
Yeah, so my shoulder started dislocating from a very young age. I was a teenager and I was playing sports, lifting weights, and it was a big bummer because I ended up having to quit all of it. And from there I had a big crisis of identity, losing the identity of being an athlete and then moving into a world that is kind of empty and harsh. And I remember, I think that what you're referencing is I remember I was working on my shoulder, going through PT, working on my shoulder, and I was doing a stretch just at my house. And I dislocated my shoulder trying to do the thing that was supposed to help me. And it was, probably 40th, 50th time doing it. And I just remember like feeling so defeated. Like I was like, what is life after this? I have no idea, And I remember having the distinct thought, like, at some point I want to be a father. And will I not be able to like throw a ball with my kids? Like I just literally can't use my arm. And that was really sad. Like I was crying in my bed alone. And I think back on that a lot because it helps me derive a lot of inspiration in not only my life of where I don't want to ever be there again, but also now I've taken that to working with people and sharing my experience and helping people who are maybe in a place similar to that in their own version of like just the worst place you could ever be in your life, and then I think helping people through that has like just really given me a lot of value, and I hope I provide a lot of value for other people.
So, how did you get out of that bed though? How did you get like from, dipping your toe into these traditional practices that weren't really feeding your heart,
Yeah.
your cellular being?
Yeah, great question. So I did when I was younger and I was initially having these problems, I had a surgery and then it never really helped. I kept dislocating after that. Went through the traditional physical therapy. And then basically when from that low point, I had a decision to make. It's like, do I just give up or, and what I ended up doing was, do I make this my life's mission? And so I just went all in. I was like, I have to fix this. There's no other way out for me. So I did tons of research. And also, I think for me, I don't know why, like thinking back, I don't know why this was my intuition, but my intuition told me that there's something that people aren't telling me, these conventional ways. There's something they're not giving me that I need to find on my own. And so I started thinking critically about the problem after doing some research and kind of understanding the problem, thinking critically about the problem, and then just doing what I thought intuitively would be right. And there was a lot of hiccups along the way. It took some years, but I found for myself what the right answers were. And then now, like, that's my, I think, we've worked together. Like, I think that's part of my maybe like one of my strongest abilities in working with people is just like looking at a problem and say, like, well, let's figure this out. And then from there, I can give you the tools to help you understand the problem and work on it yourself as well.
So, like, I want to go back a step though, because I
Okay.
don't mean to be hashtag racist, but like, it's not normal for an American male to like even know they have intuition and then to
Mm,
tap into that and then use it. Like, okay, I shove aside with what the experts are telling me, and now I'm going to go inside to see what I really need, and I'm gonna fluff around with this for a while till I figure it out. Like, okay, that sounds like it was supernatural to you, but that's not supernatural to most people, I'd say.
no, but I think it was out of necessity, because I had already done what they told me to do and it didn't work. So I think at the very least, it shed a light on maybe they don't know everything. You just plant that question. And then from that question, I think like a lot grew from that little seed that ended up being like how I run my whole life now, where like I personally just like think about every problem individually and do some research and follow my intuition, and like it's funny because that's like literally just the framework. And it's funny too, because when you say it out loud, it's like that's so simple. But I think you're right in that like it's not common at the same time. So yeah, I don't know what exactly. That's kind of what I was saying. Like I don't know what exactly drove me there, other than just like, well, they were definitely not giving me what I needed, so I have to do it on my own.
So you started to explore this, and then, I mean, looking at your videos today, it's like I would not guess in a million years that you ever had any kind of shoulder issue, ever. Um, how did you sort of work through that? Because I know there's a lots of crap that comes up and you want to dump it and run. Like what
Yeah,
do you go in?
great question. So, um, so this is what I did, and then now from that model, this is actually how I work with people. If someone comes to me and they're dealing with some sort of problem, like pain or discomfort, or even if it's shoulder dislocations, like, okay, that problem exists. And we have to set our sights a little further than just fixing that problem, because you're going to need motivation, different motivations at different times. And some like pain is a really strong motivator. So that can motivate you a lot of the time. But so for me, what I did is I was like, well, you know what? What would be the biggest, like, it's kind of funny to say it like this, but what would be the biggest FU to my shoulder? Like, I'm so done with you. Like, yet that problem's so behind me. And it was standing on my hands. I was like, I was watching, I saw someone do a handstand. I was like, that's it. It clicked. I was like, I want to learn to do a handstand because I couldn't even put my arm overhead without dislocating. So if I was able to not only put my arms overhead, but stand on my hands, that would mean that like my problems are non-existent anymore, like, and that's what I thought, like, just like a freedom to be able to do what I want to do with my body, to live my life in the way that I want to. And so I set that as the goal. And I was constantly just like working towards that. And like some days it was pain focused. Some days I was like, but I really want to do this thing. I really want to be able to stand on my hands or whatever. And so I had so many different motivations that I could draw from at different times. Because I mean, you've had your own problems with your hip. And I know for a fact that there's days where you don't want to do it. But that's the thing, when you are in a place like that, the most important thing is just consistency. Like it, all the X's and O's, they do matter. What exercise you do, it does matter. But ultimately, it's just like showing up for yourself day in and day out, even when you don't want to. Like that's where the real progress and juice is really obtained.
Yeah, it's so simple, but it's so difficult. Like, I was really thrilled when I found you because, I was like, I was at my peak. I was in my 50s, early 50s, and I was training and getting national records and kettlebelling and all this stuff. And I was ripped then, and I had real intense strength, and I didn't know how much my ego was getting from living from the outside,
Yeah.
so in rather than the inside out. And this
Yes.
whole hip thing like gave me that knowledge and pathway. And then to find you, because I knew I didn't even go to a Western medicine thing because I
Mm.
knew like for my age, they were going to say insert titanium. And I would,
Exactly. Yep.
no, I'm not doing it. And like slow by slow to have like your experience and then how you share that and to be able to walk, at first like lurch, but eventually like kind of I can walk without pain now. Oh my God. You know,
Yeah.
and
It's special.
yeah, my sister did finally, she like broke down and had the surgery. She has it on the right,
Mm.
on the left. Any familiar
Hmm.
ancestral issues there? Let's think about it. But anyway, I'm kind of glad that I held off and I don't feel a
Yeah.
need to do that right now.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, I never want to say like surgeries are always the wrong choice, but they are really, they're excited to cut you open. Like you feel it. Like they're like, yeah, let's do it. And so, like, I just think exhaust all options before you go through like serious medical interventions. And that even goes for, if they're trying to prescribe you a simple medication, you're like, well, let me do my research and let me figure out if there's some lifestyle things I could change or some natural remedies that I could do before taking the medications. And I'm not saying the medications are necessarily bad, but once you start a medical intervention, that's gonna perpetuate. There's lasting effects to that. But there is something that actually you said that I think is really important. Um, you said that you were um sorry, 1 second. Trying to think back to exactly what you said. But anyways, the idea is basically your when you have a problem, you have to look at like what this problem, how it's affecting your life in totality. And like you kind of mentioned, like your ego was wrapped up in your abilities. And I think it's funny to say, but like I think that having an issue like you dealt with and like what I dealt with ends up becoming your superpower because you had to work so hard just to get back to normal that you're so proud of like what you did and how hard you worked to get there that like you don't have an ego anymore in what your abilities are. You have an ego in your ability to just show up for yourself. And like that's like a marker of, I mean, I think like a really well adapted person in my personal experience.
That's totally for me. It was alchemizing the trauma. And I
Mhm.
didn't understand how much I needed that external. So, like, this has been yet another fluff and gift from from source, from the universe, like to walk through what I did because yeah, that was a pretty abrupt stop, look and listen. And I'm living way more, like way more in touch from my own like discernment, which
Mhm.
brings so much more sovereignty because I was like enchained by that whole thing. And I would show up at swim team practice at 5:30 in the morning. It's 34 degrees on deck, even though it's lovely sunny California, and jump into a pool that's 77 degrees. And like, I did not want to do that, honestly.
Mhm.
Like, I didn't when
Mhm.
it really came down to it. And so, yeah, it led me to a whole path of like maybe less is more, Susan, because I was training
Mhm.
like an NC2A athlete and I was like
Yeah.
50s. It was crazy. And and it really wasn't what my authentic inner being wanted. So it
Mm,
took that kind of stop down to really learn about that part of myself that I never really allowed before. You know, I came from
yeah.
abuse, I came from trauma, I came from the fluffing entertainment industry, which is woo, yeah, it can be intense.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm really happy that, we both got here and the way you're delivering what you've learned from your heart, like it infiltrates and it impacts, and you will transform, not just physically, but on a consciousness level
Mhm.
with training with you.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, it's funny that you bring that up because a lot of times when I work with someone, um, the initiation of, exercise is always about adding. It's like, well, what exercises can we add to your regimen to fix you? But oftentimes, what I'm finding more now is taking away things, oftentimes letting go of old stuff that you have that are wrapped up in your ego. That's actually maybe a bigger part of the process than you would think. And so, oftentimes like those are the conversations I'm having is like, hey, it seems like maybe there's something there that like you need to work through and we're going to slow down instead of speed up. And like I find that, I mean, from a like because we're talking abstract here, but from a physiological level, if we're talking about pain, pain often drives like a really sympathetic nervous system. You're in that fight or flight mode way too often. And what I'm also seeing is a lot of the people who are in chronic pain, they had that before the pain started. And then the pain starts and it only perpetuates that cycle. So finding ways to down regulate the nervous system and work, maybe even do your exercises from a parasympathetic state instead of trying to ramp up to do your exercises, calm down to do your exercises. That I think is maybe more valuable than the exercises themselves.
You're way wise beyond your years, for sure. So I think people are going to want to get in touch with you. So how do they find you?
So the YouTube channel that I contribute to is Strength Side. And there's tons of stuff on there. I mean, we have a library that goes back like 10 years. We've been doing it for a long time. So definitely go check some of that out. And then my personal website is trevorhash.com. Instagram is the Trevor Hash. Yeah, and just feel free, like I'm super open. So shoot me an email, whatever. I'm here. I'm down to just like help people out however I can.
Thanks, Trevor.
Thank you. I appreciate this. This is fun.